Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports, my name is Chase Sr. A few big decisions await for General Manager John Lynch and Head Coach Kyle Shanahan, and as part of that, we are going to talk about some Niners cut candidates here on the show. Who's going to be on that list? Who could get cut, leading to the Niners being able to save money on the cap going into the offseason? Stay tuned for that. But first, our sponsor for today's show, our friends at Game Time. If you're going to the big game in New Orleans between the Eagles and the Chiefs, great city to party in and a great environment at the Superdome. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Game Time specializes in last-minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed, where you get the best seats. Prices drop as the event gets closer. Thanks to Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier to find the best seats without having to go through thousands of options. Game Time will just hit you with the best options. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They have flash deals and zone deals, the Game Time guarantee, where if you find a lower price on another app, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. For those of you living in the Bay Area, or if you're going to the Bay, if you want to watch a Golden State Warriors game at the Chase Center in San Francisco, plenty of tickets available. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. We appreciate them for making today's show possible. Let's set the table with this. According to Over the Cap, the 49ers right now have $41.5 million in cap space going into the offseason. San Francisco coming off a very disappointing 6-11 year in which they missed the playoffs for the first time since 2020, and they're going to need to tinker with the roster. And while they do have a decent amount of cap space, they can open up even more cap space by making a few roster moves. That includes restructuring contracts, signing players to contract extensions, trading players away, or cutting players. Which leads me to this. Cut candidate number one is a player who the Niners signed in free agency last offseason. That is Yetur Gross-Matos, the defensive end. Now, the Niners can save just under $8 million by designating him as a post-June 1 release. Gross-Matos, in his first year in a Niners uniform, played in just 34.5% of his snaps in 2024. He did have 4 sacks and 10 pressures. That was not bad production after missing time. He is also a player who can play defensive end or defensive tackle in that NASCAR package in front that Robert Saleh has helped to make famous. And when you look at the Pro Football Focus numbers for YTM in 2024, they weren't great. Overall PFF grade of 51.5, pass rush grade of 59.5, run defense grade of 46.6, and the Niners this offseason really trying to get better against the run. But look, he had 4 sacks and 21 pressures on 209 pass rush snaps, and all of those sacks came after he came off of injured reserve. And so going into this offseason, the Niners need to bulk up and add players at defensive end and defensive tackle. And I would think about drafting an edge or a defensive tackle with the 11th overall pick. And so I know that you could save some money here, but I would consider keeping Yetur Gross-Matos, see what he can do under Chris Kocurek, because we saw flashes of that, defensive tackle, edge, getting after the quarterback. And I want to see how Robert Saleh can maximize a player like this, and I'll be motivated going into the final year of his contract. Cut candidate number 2, a fan favorite, and a player who a lot of people do not want to see get cut. But if we're being realistic, he is on this list for a reason, because the Niners could move on this offseason. That is fullback Kyle Juszczyk. He is the highest paid fullback in the NFL. He's been a part of cost-cutting avenues and moves by the Niners before. He has a $6.5 million cap hit in 2025, and the Niners can save $4.6 million by cutting him. A $6.5 million cap hit for a fullback in 2025 is crazy. Because when you think about it in this way, if you signed an undrafted free agent, and teams oftentimes don't draft fullbacks, so you can bring in a really good fullback in this offense, you could add that player where he's making like $500,000. Instead, Juice has a cap hit of $6.5 million. And from a team building standpoint, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to pay a lot of money to a fullback who really solely blocks. The Niners don't hand the football off to him all that much. When they do throw it his way, he does make big plays in the passing game, but those opportunities are few and far between. And yes, he's a great blocker, but also a lot, he's just that motion man. Now, he's one of Kyle Shanahan's guys, and in this scheme, he is utilized a lot as that lead blocker, and that's important for opening up some running lanes for this ground attack for San Francisco. But it's the price for me, considering if you signed another fullback as a UDFA, if you brought in another fullback in free agency, you could have a player who maybe not is to the level of Kyle Juszczyk, but very similar, who serves the same role, and you could free up $5 million, so to speak. A really fun replacement option for Kyle Juszczyk is a player who I talked about a couple of weeks ago here on the show, and I mentioned how he could replace Juszczyk, and that's Arizona State running back Cam Skattebo. Went to Sacramento State, transferred to Arizona State, grew up in the Bay Area. Pretty sure he grew up as a Niner fan. This guy's an athletic freak, and he can do a lot of different things on the field. And you're unsure about Christian McCaffrey looking ahead to next year, too. He's not quite as big as Mike Allstott was in the early 2000s, but he runs like him, has a strong lower half like him, and is very balanced. He's not quick and twitchy with the patience to explosion like Christian McCaffrey is. He's a different player than that, but he's almost like a blend between Mike Allstott and Christian McCaffrey, and it's not because they're all white dudes. Skattebo against Texas in the college football playoff, 30 carries, 143 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He also threw a 42-yard touchdown pass. He also had 8 catches for 99 yards, 12.4 yards per catch. That was against a Texas team that has NFL dudes all over the place. Skattebo can ball, and this would be a cost-cutting measure where you could replace Juice with Skattebo, and I think that he could be a really intriguing weapon for head coach Kyle Shanahan. Here's what Kyle Juszczyk had to say about his future. Hasn't been any discussion yet, but I am aware of the kind of situation that we have. There's a lot up in the air, and who's going to be here, who's not. Some contracts that need to be figured out, so I'm aware of that. I just hope it doesn't affect me. I want to win a ring. I want to win a ring here. But again, if I'm forced to do it somewhere else, I've still got so much football left in me. I still love the game so much. I'm still playing at a high level, and I know there are teams out there that can use me. And yeah, Kyle Juszczyk still is playing at a high level, and good for him if he wants to continue his career, if it's not with the Niners. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, by the way, as we continue to move forward on today's show, because whenever the Niners make a move, we talk about it right here on this program. So lock us in and hit that sub button. Cut candidate number 3 is Javon Hargrave. And the Niners already have plans to designate him as a post-June 1 release. John Lynch has talked openly about this, and during the season when they restructured his contract, the writing was kind of on the wall. If they do that, he will still count $8.6 million in dead money in 2025, $17.4 in 2026, but he would have cost $25 million against the cap without that designation. At the time that he signed that deal with the Niners 2 off seasons ago, he had signed a 4-year, $84 million contract, and for the price that the Niners signed him to, ended up being a very disappointing free agency acquisition for San Francisco. And you think about what the Eagles did, for instance, they let Hargrave go. They drafted Jalen Carter, who's turned into one of the best defensive players in the game. And they're paying Jalen Carter a fraction of the price of what the Niners have had to pay Javon Hargrave. The other issue with Hargrave, he is a pass rushing defensive tackle. And he still had 7 sacks in 2023, but with the Niners still running the wide 9, they've kind of gone away from run-stopping defensive tackles, and they became enamored with Hargrave coming off that 11-sack season with Philadelphia in 2022. The issue, not a good run defender. Niners defensive tackles haven't been able to stop the run. That's a problem with the wide 9. Other cut candidates here. Niners could decide to cut Malik Collins, who, again, more of a pass-rushing defensive tackle as compared to a run stuffer. Defensive end Leonard Floyd, and wide receiver Deebo Samuel. I don't think they'll go that route with Deebo due to the financial implications. If they move off of Deebo, I think it will be as a trade. So you tell me, which of these cut candidates won't be on the Niners in 2025? Let me know and drop me a name.